Hello there, this is TP807, and today I'll be having a look at some games that came out in December 2025, so last year. This one is Rhythmic Idling. So let's get started, shall we? So we're looking at, let me see, I would say 15 games here, including quite a few different ones, so let's get started, shall we? First up is Tingus Goose, or Tingus Goose Enhanced, by SweatyChair. This is a weird goose growing simulator idle game where you bounce babies for profit and raise and grow your goose tree. It's an enhanced version of the mobile games without any microtransactions, so let's have a look at the trailer. Never have I seen a trailer so accurately describe what the game is. So, Windows and Mac, $6.99 US. The original game was on Android and iOS, as you can probably imagine. So, system requirements are Windows 7, Service Pack 1, or any x64 CPU with SSD2 support, which would be pretty much all of them on the Windows side. 4GB RAM, DirectX 10 capable GPU, 1GB of free space. On the Mac side, macOS 10.12 Sierra, Apple M1 or Intel Core i3 CPU, 4GB of RAM, metal capable GPU, and 1GB of free space. You shouldn't have any trouble running it. So let's continue. Hopefully something a bit less odd. Toy Smash Kaboom by Free Particle. This is a PvP auto battler focused around discovering and creating toys and sending them out to battle your friends and foes, as well as using a variety of traps, summons, and abilities to help out during battle. So let's have a look. So that is Toy Smash Kaboom, Windows and Mac, $13.99 US. System requirements are Windows 10 or 11 64-bit, Intel Core i5 750 or an AMD A12 9800. They're ancient by this point, to be absolutely honest. 8GB RAM, NVIDIA GeForce GTX 750 Ti or an AMD Radeon HD 7770 or an Intel Iris Plus, and 1GB of free space. So you shouldn't have any trouble in it. Backside, macOS 13 Ventura, Apple M1 CPU, 8GB of RAM, 1GB of free space. So let's continue on. Tiny Bunny by Saikono and Sokar. This one entered early access back in April 2021. It's a horror visual novel set in a Siberian village where children begin to go missing. It's based on the short story by Dmitry Melos and has 5 chapters and a number of different endings. So let's have a look.
1, 2, time to play with you. 3, 4, 5, the owl will arrive. 6 on the end, the wool scraper will stand. 7, 8, got you on my plate. 9 and 10, stomp your hooves again. For the fox and for the bear, Bonnie tasty meals prepare.
So that is Tiny Bunny, available for Windows, Mac and Android. $10.99 US. System requirements: Windows 10, x64, 1.2 GHz or faster CPU, 2 GB RAM, 512 MB GPU, and 5 GB of free space. So not too bad. Mac side, Mac OS apparently, 2 GB RAM, 5 GB of free space. But you shouldn't have any trouble running it. So let's continue on. Rhythm Doctor by 7-Beat Games. This one entered early access back in February 2021. You want 97th beat from a Dance of Ice and Fire. This is a one-button rhythm game where you treat different illnesses in time to the beat across 20 different levels, as well as having a level editor and the night shift mode, which is hard mode. I am completely terrible at rhythm games, so yeah. But let's have a look at the trailer.
Everything in this trailer, including text and cuts, is a piece of unbroken gameplay footage. Nothing from start to end has been edited in an external program at all. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. And if you double it, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 right here. When you get to this part, you hit the button. That's it. Like that. Just like that. Yeah.
Sometimes I'm angry, I'm not doing better than.
Take me back to my cage before the sunset on me. When the clouds went wild, to a passing bridges.
S+. Good job.
So that's the trailer for it. Available for Windows, Mac, Linux, Xbox One and Xbox Series X and S. $19.99 US. System requirements: Windows 7 or later, or Linux 4.15, or Ubuntu 18.04. CPU: Intel Core i5-8400, 2 GB RAM, Intel Graphics HD 4000, and 1 GB of free space. So yeah, you should be able to run it on pretty much anything. On the next side, Mac OS 10.13 or Sierra or later, Apple or Intel CPU, 2 GB RAM, Intel Graphics HD 4000, and 1 GB of free space. Skate Story by Sam Eng. Skate to the moon and swallow it in this demonic skateboarding game. It's set in this strange, beautiful world of glass, ash and smoke. And there's probably going to be ollies involved, I suppose. It's a very pretty game, so let's have a look. So on a few different platforms, Windows Mac, PS5 and the Switch 2, $19.99 US. System requirements are Windows 10, 64-bit, Intel Core i7 6700 or an AMD Ryzen 5 1600, 8GB RAM, NVIDIA GeForce GTX 1050 Ti or an AMD Radeon RX 570 or an Intel Arc A380, and 12GB of free space. You shouldn't have too much trouble running it as long as you've got a decent graphics card. On the Mac side, macOS 10.14 Mojave, Apple M1 or Intel Core i5 CPU, 8GB RAM, AMD Radeon Pro 450 or an Apple M1 GPU, and 9GB of free space. Mac version's a little bit smaller, apparently. So, yeah, it's worth a look. It's got a demo out. I plan on giving it a bit of a go myself on stream, but let's continue on. Angeline Era by Melos, Han-Tani, Marina Kittaka, and Analgesic Productions. This is a 3D action adventure game with a variety of secrets to discover across a number of different locations, like forests and farms, as well as mines, mountains, and towns. It's an interesting old thing. It reminds me a bit of those old 2D Zelda games, the top-down ones. So let's have a look. This is another game I plan on playing the demo of on stream, but that's a bit later on. So Windows and Mac, $24.99 US. System requirements: Windows 7, 64-bit dual-core 2.5 GHz CPU, 4GB RAM, NVIDIA GeForce GT 610M, and 3GB of free space. So, yeah, the system requirements aren't too bad. On the Mac side, any Mac OS within the past 3 years, Apple Silicon 64-bit chip, 4GB RAM, GPU from a 2018 MacBook Pro or later, and 4GB of free space. So, yeah, you shouldn't have any trouble running it. Bits and Bops by Tempo Labs. This is a collection of 20 rhythm minigames, including singing birds, hammering nails, and seals bouncing balls. This is all hand drawn. It's a pretty little thing. So let's have a look. Yeah, so odd little thing, but I quite enjoyed playing the demo. So currently available for Windows, Mac, Linux. Console releases are planned, but nothing concrete there. $15.99 US. System requirements: Windows 7, Service Pack 1, or Ubuntu 18.04 or similar. CPU x86/x64 architecture with SSE2 support. 4GB RAM, DirectX 10 cable GPU, and 3GB of free space. On the Mac side, macOS 10.14 Mojave, Apple or Intel CPU, 4GB RAM, and 3GB free space. I was able to play the demo without any issues, so yeah. Yeah, so that's Bits and Bops. So, Dunjungle by Bruno Bombardi. This one entered early access back in October 2024. This is a 2D roguelike featuring a monkey adventuring through a jungle, taking on various monsters across 7 different biomes, including temples. It features 30 different weapons, 100 relics, and 15 different classes, as well as a few different little bosses, as you can see in the screenshots. So, let's have a look. So that is Dunjungle, available for Windows Mac, PS4, PS5, Xbox Series X and S, and the Switch. $14.79 US. System requirements, honestly not too bad. Windows 7 or macOS 10, I would assume one of the more recent releases. 2.13 GHz CPU, 1GB RAM, 412 megabytes for GPU, and 300 megabytes free space. You shouldn't have any trouble running it. The Conquest of Go by Wolfey Studios. This one entered early access in December 2020. So this is the classic Go, or what is it known as, Mancala, with the campaign mode, 5 different AIs to play against. There are legendary matches to discover throughout history. There's online play through the online Go server, or OGS, as well as a built-in tutorial. So let's have a look. Yeah, so I think this is the first time we've actually covered Go on this little series. So, platforms: Windows Mac, $14.99 US. Windows 7 64-bit, Intel Core i3 CPU, 8GB RAM, Intel HD graphics, and 1GB free space. You really shouldn't have any trouble running it. On the backside, macOS 10 or later, I assume reasonably recent release. Intel Core i3 or an Apple M1 CPU, 6GB RAM, 1GB of free space. Continue on. Outhold by Tellus Games. This is a short, minimalistic, incremental tower defense game with a variety of towers and upgrades. Ideal for fans of the genre. It's a pretty interesting little thing, so let's have a look. So that's Outhold. So currently for Windows and Mac, mobile version is being considered. $6.99 US. System requirements: Windows 10, 64-bit, Intel Core i5 or an AMD equivalent, 4GB RAM, NVIDIA GeForce GTX 1050, and 1GB of free space. On the Mac side, macOS 12 Monterey, Apple M1 CPU, 4GB of RAM, and 1GB of free space. You shouldn't have any trouble running it. Continue on. Terminator 2D No Fate by Bitmap Bureau. This is a 2D side-scrolling arcade game featuring events from Terminator 2 Judgment Day, as well as other scenarios including leading the resistance in the future war. Very pretty little thing, so let's have a look.
Peggy 16.
Terminated.
So it's available on a fair few different platforms: Windows, Mac, Linux, PS4, PS5, Xbox One and Xbox Series X and S, and the Switch. $24.99 US. And yeah, so system requirements: Windows 10 version 21H1 or Ubuntu 22.04/24.04. Intel Core i5 CPU or something with that's x86 or x64 based with SSD2 support, 4GB RAM, 1GB GPU with DirectX 10 support or OpenGL 3.2 support, and 1GB of free space. On the Mac side, macOS 11 Big Sur, Apple Silicon CPU or an x64 based CPU with SSD2 support, 4GB RAM, 1GB and metal capable GPU, and 1GB of free space. In short, you shouldn't have to worry about the system requirements. So, let's continue on. Island Survival / Beauties for Help on the Island by Deserted Isle Interactive Entertainment and AlbatrooGame. Yes, I always have to cover a weird Chinese FMV, and this time's no exception. So this is a FMV title set on a deserted island where you have to lead a group of attractive young ladies with crafting and survival. It's currently Chinese only, but English support is planned. Now, and it's quite interesting, I think, so let's have a look.
船毁人散，世界只剩下陌生和未知。生存游戏就此开始。
说真的，会有人来救我们吗？
这么喝肺会炸的。
哥哥，我好害怕啊！不给就不给。哼，
没事吧，雪？你发烧了。
在这修罗场，真诚从来不是安全牌。
找我！快跑！我怎么看不见了？李想，你在吗？
平日里就爱指手画脚，现在马后炮什么意思啊？哎，你别走！
流氓！
信任断裂，温度退场，可这场游戏
野人
还远未结束。他们不是唯一的幸存者，不是猎人，
你干什么？
而是
行使女王的权利。
猎人。
你的任务就是跟我一起繁衍后代。你竟然背叛我，为什么要跑？
生死之际，他却说：“
我不想和你分开，我不想你不开心。”
恋爱、生存，还是一场彻底的关系审判。荒岛求生，逃出美女岛，选择他，或选择活。
So, that trailer, I had to get it from a user called deluluf, who also did the English subtitles. I'll put a link to his trailer and to his channel in the description. So, Windows Mac, $9.99 US. System requirements, 6GB RAM and 70GB free space. Not the 70, this is, the FMV games were always quite big. So, yes, it's basically a more interesting Survivor. So, yes, just continue on. A game about feeding a black hole by Aarimous and Thornityco. Now, I'm going to cheat here a bit and use the game zone description because, well, it pretty describes the whole game. It's a short incremental game about feeding a black hole matter by destroying planets and its asteroids, planets and stars. So, let's have a look.
I just released the demo for my game, a game about feeding a black hole, over on Steam. You can check it out right now and make sure to wishlist it because before you know it, I'm going to be releasing this game this year in November. So make sure you wishlist it to get notified when it goes live so you can purchase it and play the remaining portion of the game. The demo is about a quarter of the game, so about 20 to 30 minutes. The full version of the game will be about 2 hours, and then we're going to have other gameplay modes with other trees and other styles that maybe you can speed run or do a full idle build or something like that, just so that there's that fun replayability for those who want it. I hope you enjoy the demo. Make sure to go wishlist it right now, and until next time, I've been Aarimous. I'll see you later. Bye-bye.
So that's a game about feeding a black hole. It's available for Windows Mac Linux, $6.99. If you're interested in the idle/tower defense thing, it's also part of the bundle with Outlast, which I covered a little bit before. So system requirements: Windows 7 or newer, or Linux, or /X11. Not quite sure how that works, but so 2.12 GHz CPU, 2 GB RAM. OpenGL 3.3 capable GPU, 500 MB free space. Mac side, pretty similar, at 2.5 GHz CPU, 2 GB RAM, OpenGL 3.3 supported GPU, and 500 MB free space. You shouldn't have any trouble running it. Continuing on, Game of Fate 3, Clash of Crowns, by KARMAGAME HK Limited. This is the third part in the time-travelling FMV thriller trilogy. Hours of footage, branching storylines and a range of different outcomes. It's hard to believe that this is actually wrapped up. I remember covering the first one back in 2024. So, let's have a look.
You 他爷爷？
是啊。我从2010年穿越过来，就是为了找你。
啥？
这都是骗小孩子的玩意儿。哎，小玉，方小玉，等等。
方小玉， 我知道啊。
你说的是那个上船公主吧？
请问是方小雨小姐被绑架了吗？
要是想藏起来，就只能去一个平时很少有人去的地方。
好久不见。
当然是拒绝小玉啊。
民弱国强，国强民弱，故有道之国，务在弱民。
被牺牲掉的那些，难道就不可怜吗？
你说那些小兵可怜，可一个国家如果没有王，要小兵又有什么用呢？
不可能，你们都在骗我！
老师，我知道了。
所以，我们还有机会。
So that's Game of Fate 3. It's available for Windows Mac, $16.79 US. System requirements: Windows 10, Intel Core i3 CPU, 8GB RAM, an independent graphics card, and 90GB of free space. 990. Like I said, these FMV games, they are big. On the Mac side, macOS 11 Big Sur, Apple M1 CPU, or Intel Core i5, 8GB RAM, independent graphics card, and 90GB of free space. So, yes. And finally, the last one, Hello Temptation Laugh by Indelible Studio. So this is a special epilogue chapter of Hello Love, ATN again, featuring one of the most popular characters from it, the teacher Miss Lou. It covers some future events and relationship issues like the 7-year itch, long distance relationships, and workplace boundaries. Quite interesting old thing. So let's have a look. No, we can't have a look. I wasn't able to get the trailer working. Sorry. So Windows Mac, $3.99 US. System requirements: Windows 10, Intel Core i3, 4GB RAM, discrete graphics card, and 20GB of free space. On the next side, macOS 11 Big Sur, Intel Core i3 or Apple M1 CPU, 4GB RAM, and 20GB of free space. So thank you for watching. The links is always going to be in the description, and I'll see you next time. Thank you.